Hey everyone, Cary here with Cary Kolat, presented by Rudis. Again, if you have comments or questions, please leave them under this video, and Rudis will get it to me, or you can always email them, or you can tweet at them, or tweet at myself. The question I had this week was, how do you get athletes to start pushing themselves or become more motivated? Well, I mean, first of all, you need to be dealing with a person who wants to be successful and has a competitive edge to them, and that type of person, you can teach them. You can teach them, especially if you're working with a high school kid. You can start to teach them how to push themselves. At the college level, you start deal with the upper level guys. They're not all upper level, but to some extent, they're self motivated. They've gone Division I. They want to wrestle with the best and compete with the best, and we're still teaching at that part. And when you get that extremely high level guy, you're really kind of almost hands off, and you just kind of manage and tweak and give them guidance as they need it. And doesn't mean you're totally hands off of them, but you that guy's easy. I feel like I was an easy guy to coach, for the most part. I was going in and pushing myself in all areas, whether it was a drill session, a live session, in competition. I was trying to perform and win every sprint or win every scramble in the practice room and in competition. But there are some ways you can start to do this. So if you want a guy to be self-motivated, the only way you can really do it is to be a coach who says, here's the road, here's what we're going to do, and then you have to kind of back off and give them ownership in whether it's a training session or whether it's a competition. But if you're in there blowing the whistle the whole time and you're managing every step of the session, then they don't become hands off. They don't learn how to be self-motivated. They don't learn how to train themselves and push through. You can't be there all the time, especially when you have a group of guys. You can't cover everybody all the time. So that you have to take a step back and be a little less controlling. There's a couple workouts that I do to start doing this. Conditioning workouts are always easy, and then that just kind of goes into training sessions. But I did a show episodes back, and people were asking me about conditioning, and I said specifically I did 4 to 6 different workouts, and I do these with my team to this day. I don't do a CrossFit format. Not that we don't do stuff like that. They go in there and beat them up, but there's like 4 to 6 things that we always come back to for conditioning as a group, and we do it specifically so wherever that guy was at the first time, he can see improvement the next time. Especially the first time he's done it, it's miserable. The second time, it's going to be miserable too, but you can see where you were at in that line in the sand last time, and you can improve upon it. And when you see improvement, that's really good for an athlete. That's really good for a wrestler. You're seeing something tangible, and you're seeing improvement, whether it's in wrestling or in a conditioning workout. One of the workouts I do is it's like 16, 18 minutes long. And, the guys know it now, so it's not new to them, but it's still a miserable workout, but they still have those lines in the sand. The first time I did it with them, I said, okay, I told them exactly how the workout was going to go. We're going to do a 3-minute warm-up on the Aerodyne bike, then we're going to do a 30-second sprint, and then I'm going to give you a minute rest, and then from there on out, every sprint that we do is going to be no longer than 30 seconds. They're all going to equal up to a minute, and then you're going to get a 2-minute ride. And then we're going to go into the second phase of sprinting again. It might be 4 15-second goes, or 3 20s, or 2 30s. And so the sprint phase, these short bursts, it adds up to be about 10 minutes. And then the last part of this sprint, Aerodyne sprint system, is an 8-minute go, and they have a distance for each weight class that they have to hit. But the first sprint's the most important one. They do a warm-up for 3 minutes. They do a 30-second go. And I tell them the whole time, you're going to get a minute after this. You're going to get more recovery than that sprint. Watch your RPMs, watch your RPMs, watch your RPMs. So when they're done with that 30-second sprint, I had these guys all watching their RPMs. And now they know the workout that's coming. And what I didn't tell them was, now, you set the speed. You saw your RPMs for 30 seconds. No sprint's going to exceed 30 seconds. You're going to get an adequate break between them. You set your pace. And so now that guy has to pick, what he's going to do to himself. Is he going to kill himself? But he's got to pick a pace. So if you've done an Aerodyne bike workout, you have to set a pace that's going to be manageable, and you're going to have to maintain it. And that bike gets harder to push that fan as you go on. But that's ownership in the workout. That guy set it. So if he's not hitting it, he's not hitting the goal that he set for himself. Now, he's in there probably with, 9 other guys, and I'm working with upper level guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm working with D1 athletes. You might be a high school coach, and so you have a mix. But when you have that kid that has the potential to be Division I or Division II and go on and do some pretty big things, you have to start, laying out the workouts. But there's got to be workouts where this kid's involved in the workout and he's setting the priority, he's setting the reps, or he's setting the speed. The Aerodyne bike is just one way of doing that. And another way to do it is, we've done it before too. And in fact, we have a workout coming tomorrow that I'm going to be putting them through, where it's going to be a combination of the bike. And it's going to be a combination of them going back and forth between the bike and hitting reps on the mat with a partner. And we'll check their pace within a 1 minute go and how many reps they get in a certain position. And then what they don't know is coming is the same thing we do on the bike, was we're going to say, okay, now you're going to set the reps. You got to get, what's the average you're going to get, that's a good hand fight set of reps. You're play wrestling in, you're really moving, you're pulling on the guy. In a minute, and there's going to be intensity behind it, and the reps are going to be correct every single time. That's, again, giving that guy ownership, and he's pushing himself, because now not only are we setting up the workout and we're setting up the structure, but hey, you got to say in this too. And when you give that to somebody, most guys don't want to, they want to push themselves. They don't want to be a coward and run from fatigue or run from competition. The more ownership they have, the better motivated they're going to be, the more you're going to be able to kind of back off as a coach. Not that we can get our hands all the way out there, but it's going to become more of a management system for you when you get, guys who are willing to push themselves and train themselves like that. But you have to teach them how to do that. And again, I know if you're a high school coach, there's no way you could do that with everybody. This is where captains become very important in your practice room again, and they have to have some ownership in leading the team. If you lead all the time, people start to tune you out. It's like, if you're watching like a lot of father and son relationships, the dad can say something to the kid and the kid doesn't hear it, but somebody from the outside can say it and the kid will listen, because you start to just kind of get numb to your voice. And so it's important that if you have assistant coaches, that they're mixing in there. If you have, captains, that they're mixing in there, and you're giving your guys ownership and their training situations and their situations, their practice situations as well. And then hopefully because of that, you get a more competitive kid. I know when we go back to that Aerodyne workout, now they know it's not a new workout for them. They know what's coming. They know what I'm going to do to them. And I tell them specifically, we're doing that same workout. And so now, even if their RPMs, I don't know, I'm just pulling it out of my head, if their RPMs were, I don't know, 110, 120, whatever it might have been, now it's going to be 121 or 122. And so now they're increasing that line in the sand, and they're maintaining that level of intensity longer, or not longer, but at a higher level for that same distance or time. Track athletes always amaze me. I have a lot of respect for the track people at Campbell, and then people do track and field in general who I've come in contact with, because track is one of those few sports that you race against somebody else, but but it's something that you honestly can do by yourself, that you don't need anybody in the practice room or anybody else on the track. So you have to learn how to really push yourself. Track people are, I always say, a little bit nuts, when you meet them, because they're really good ones, because it's such a self-motivating sport that you have to be self-motivated to be any good at it. And, wrestling, we still, we have our workouts, our conditioning workouts you can do on your own. And we have to do the same thing to some extent. But in terms of our actual sport, performing it, we can't do it really unless there's somebody else in there with us pushing against us. So track has some really mentally tough people. And to be a great wrestler, you have to be mentally tough and be motivated and draw lines in the sand for yourself. And as a coach, you have to enforce that and teach them. And you do that with workouts. Like I said, we'll do a rep workout tomorrow with our guys, but they're going to come in the room and set their reps, and they don't know that's coming. And once they set it, you'll see they tend to work harder to hit the own level of commitment that they set. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is get them to make their own commitment to training, to competing when the singlet's on, and then do that more and more than when we're not there. I have a couple guys I work with now, and sometimes as a head coach, you get jammed up, and it might be a morning drill, but I've got them to the point where here's the drill. We're going to do this twice a week. We're going to meet. But if for some reason I can't be there, you don't miss a beat. And they're in that mode, and they've got a good partnership going where they get in there and push each other. And we do 100 reps is what we do. Each guy does 100 reps, and they're in and out in about 40 minutes where we're at in the season. So it's been really, really good for them. But that's what you got to do. You got to back off and start giving a little bit of ownership, even if it's 10% in the practice. And then maybe at some point it's 15, or sometimes there's maybe a 50% practice. This is what I want you to do. Where do you see yourself at in here? What's our commitment to the reps we're going to get, or the push we're going to get? Give them a little bit of ownership, in their training. And when they have ownership, eventually they can start taking on more and more on their own. And that's how you get a really self-motivated, driven guy, or create that, or help create that. But hopefully that answered your question. I know it can be a little vague sometimes. You're talking about the psychology of the sport. But again, this is Cary with Ask Kolat. If you got questions, leave comments at the bottom. Tweet at me, tweet at Rudis, and they'll get them to me. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you all next week.